You can taste the dust before you see it. It clings to your tongue, coats your teeth, and settles heavy in the back of your throat like you've swallowed a mouthful of the desert itself. The air is dry, brittle, and sharp. Every footstep in the crowded auction yard crunches like bone under boots, and the sun hangs mercilessly overhead, bleaching the wooden pens and cracked earth into blinding shades of gold. Somewhere beyond the fences, a coyote howls, long and lonesome, as if mourning what's about to happen here. You stand shoulder to shoulder with men who reek of sweat, whiskey, and gun oil. Their voices rise and fall with each transaction, their laughter jagged and cruel. A child coughs weakly nearby, the sound lost beneath the auctioneer's booming voice. Livestock shuffle nervously in their pens, eyes rolling white, sensing something is wrong. There's a tension here you can't quite name, a weight pressing on the back of your neck. Then you see her. A frail, barefoot woman is dragged into the sunlight like an animal being paraded for slaughter. Her dress is torn, clinging in dirty strips to a thin, battered frame. Mud streaks her face, but you can still see how pale she is, how close to breaking. One arm clutches her swollen belly, as if the baby inside her is the only thing keeping her tethered to this world. A murmur sweeps through the crowd. Some men avert their eyes, others smirk. One spits in the dirt. The auctioneer grins, lifting her chin with the end of a riding crop. "Pregnant mountain stock," he calls out. One coin starts the bidding. Silence. No one moves. No one dares to want her. You watch as Elias Crowe, gaunt, unshaven, his children gripping his hands so tight their knuckles whiten, steps forward. He shouldn't be here. He doesn't have the money for feed, much less this. But something flickers in his eyes as he looks at her. A mixture of pity, and something darker. He raises a single trembling hand. $1. The words echo like a gunshot. A ripple of disbelief runs through the crowd. One man laughs bitterly. Another mutters, "He's lost his damn mind." But no one outbids him. No one wants the trouble. And just like that, with a single dollar, the pregnant woman is his. They place her in front of him, shackles removed. Her bare feet tremble on the dirt, her chest rising and falling in shallow, panicked breaths. She won't meet his gaze at first. Then, slowly, her eyes lift. Her lips move, barely a whisper. "Elias?" The sound is so soft he almost thinks he imagined it. But then she says it again, louder, voice breaking like a ghost calling from the grave. "Elias." He freezes. How could she possibly know his name? She's staring straight into his soul now, eyes wide and filled with something he can't place. Recognition, terror, and maybe, a memory. You watch as the air around them thickens. Elias' mind spins, but he doesn't dare speak. His children tug at his coat, their tiny voices distant now, drowned out by the pounding of his heart. The woman takes a halting step toward him. Her hand lifts, fingers shaking, as if to reach for him. And then, before we continue, drop a comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Nairobi, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back, tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's get into the story. The woman's whisper still clings to the air, "Elias," but in your mind, it fades, replaced by a memory you wish you could drown. It has been 2 years since death took your wife. 2 years of waking up to the sound of your own hollow breath in an empty bed, 2 years of scraping through a world that does not care if you live or rot. You remember standing in the yard of your failing homestead, boots sinking in mud after another storm tore through the roof. The children cried inside. You told them you'd fix it, but the truth hung in your chest like a stone, you didn't know how. Neighbors passed by on horseback, pretending not to see you. Others stared openly, whispering to one another about the man who couldn't keep his family afloat. Poverty isn't just hunger, it's humiliation. You felt it every time you walked into town, the pity in the shopkeeper's eyes, the way conversation would die the second you stepped inside the saloon. You'd lost weight, muscle melting off your bones. You sold your wife's wedding ring to buy flour and firewood, and still, the children went to bed with empty stomachs. And always, the whispers. Crowe can't raise those kids. He's not a man anymore. Just a ghost walking the dirt roads. You started to believe them. So when you heard about the auction, you told yourself you were going only for mule feed. But deep down, you knew you were lying. You were desperate. You couldn't admit it aloud, but you needed something. Someone. Even if it was a cruel bargain. The night before the auction, you sat at the table, the children already asleep. The house creaked in the wind. You stared at a single silver dollar, the last of your money, the last proof that you hadn't completely failed them yet. You pocketed it. Because even a broken man knows he has to fight, even if he doesn't believe he'll win. If you're rooting for Elias to turn his life around, hit subscribe. If you won't, comment why. I dare you. Back in the present, you can't escape the weight of her eyes. She clings to the children now as if they belong to her, though they stare up at her with the same questions etched on your face. Pa, Ren's voice cracks the silence. Is she our new mother? The question slices you open. You can't answer, because you don't know. You can barely breathe. The woman doesn't speak either. She just pulls Ren and Jonas closer, her thin hands trembling but protective. You notice it now, the way her eyes flick constantly over the crowd, scanning for danger. She's not just afraid of you. She's afraid of something else, something worse. You try to ask her again, how do you know my name? But she shakes her head, lips pressed together like a child refusing medicine. A ripple of unease moves through you. She knows you. She's protecting your children like they're hers. And yet she won't tell you why. The crowd begins to disperse. The auctioneer pockets your dollar with a smirk. Men glance at you on their way out, muttering words you don't catch. Some of them grin as if they already know a secret you don't. As you lead your children and the woman toward the wagon, you feel it, the hair on the back of your neck rising. Something's wrong. You turn toward the ridge line, and that's when you see him. Far away, up on the sun-baked hills, a lone rider watches. His figure is small against the sky, motionless, like a shadow burned into the earth. Even from this distance, you swear you can feel his eyes boring into you. And then he turns his horse and vanishes into the horizon. But you know he'll be back. If you feel that chill in your bones, subscribe. Don't lurk silently, own the moment or admit in the comments why you won't. The wagon wheels groan as you rattle down the dirt road toward the homestead. The woman, your purchase, sits silent in the back, one hand gripping her swollen belly, the other clutching the sideboard like the earth itself might buck her off. The children steal glances at her, eyes wide, whispers trapped in their throats. By the time you reach the edge of your land, the sun has dipped behind the horizon, throwing long, jagged shadows across the barren yard. The house looks smaller than you remember. Shabbier. The sight burns a hole in your chest, but you force the door open anyway and lead her inside. The neighbors heard. Of course they did. Word travels faster than the wind out here. Before you even set foot on the porch, you can feel their eyes. The rancher down the road rides by slow, pretending to inspect his fence line. Another woman lingers at the well, filling a bucket she doesn't need. Their voices rise in quiet laughter. The widower brought home a pregnant stranger. You ignore them, but the shame sticks. It's the same shame you've carried since the day your wife died, only heavier now. Inside, the woman moves carefully, avoiding your gaze as she settles near the hearth. Ren and Jonas warm to her quickly, too quickly. She hums softly as she tends the fire, and they edge closer, eager for the sound. You watch from the doorway, wondering who she is, what she is. She smiles at your children as though they were hers, but she barely speaks a word to you. Days pass. You notice her strength returning bit by bit. She scrubs the floors without being asked, repairs a torn shirt for Jonas, braids Ren's hair. She begins to belong here, and yet, you feel she does not. One night, unable to sleep, you hear it, murmuring from her room. The sound is low, frantic. You creep closer and press your ear to the door. Names. She is whispering names you don't recognize, each one trembling with fear. Then silence. Your hand tightens on the doorframe. Who is she speaking to in her dreams? The question keeps you awake. And then the night fractures. A scream rips through the house. You bolt upright and rush to her room. She's doubled over, clutching her belly, sweat slick on her pale skin. Don't send for a doctor, she gasps, voice raw. Please, Elias, promise me. No doctor. You freeze in the doorway, heart pounding. Why? She reaches for your hand, eyes wild with terror. Promise me, she begs, or they'll find us. Subscribe now if you care about her baby surviving. Or comment if you're truly cold enough to watch without doing it. The night stretches on forever. You light the lanterns, boil water, and hold her hand as the contractions tear through her. The children watch from the corner, wide-eyed and silent, too scared to cry. She is strong, stronger than you expected, but each scream chips away at that strength. You wipe her brow, whispering words you don't believe, and pray the baby will come before she breaks. And then, finally, it does. A sharp, wet cry splits the air. Relief crashes over you like a river breaking its banks. She cradles the newborn, tears sliding down her dirt-streaked cheeks, whispering words you can't quite hear. For a moment, the house feels alive again. But you can't shake the question buried in your chest. When she finally sleeps, you gather the soiled linens and stumble outside for air. That's when you see it, a small bundle among her belongings. You shouldn't open it. You do anyway. It's a letter. Creased, dirt-stained, and torn at the edges. You read the first line, and your blood runs cold. It's addressed to your late wife. Your hands tremble as you turn the page, desperate to know more, but the words blur. How could this woman know your wife? Before you can answer, you hear it, the distant thunder of hooves. You step outside into the moonlight and squint at the ridge line. There. Shadows moving. Riders. They're closer than they were before. We're halfway there. If you're still watching and haven't subscribed, you're breaking my heart. Do the right thing. The sound of hooves fades into silence, but it leaves a mark that will not lift. You know the rhythm of riders tracking prey. You've heard it before. You stand on the porch, the cold night air cutting through your shirt, staring at the hills like a man who has just seen the future, and didn't like what he saw. When you step back inside, the woman is awake. She's rocking the baby, shadows drawn deep across her face by the firelight. She looks at you like she's reading your mind, and maybe she is. You don't ask her about the riders. You don't ask why there's a letter addressed to your dead wife hidden among her belongings. But you want to. The next day brings the answer before you can summon the question. They arrive in the early afternoon. For men on horseback, guns low at their sides, wearing the swagger of men who don't need to hide what they are. Their leader, lean, sharp-eyed, with a scar across his jaw, dismounts first. He doesn't ask permission to approach your porch. We're looking for a woman, he says. His voice is calm, almost polite, but it's the kind of politeness that has blood behind it. He describes her, your woman, and the child now asleep in her arms. She's ours. Hand her over. You can feel your children watching from behind you. You don't move. She's not here, you lie. The man narrows his eyes. For a moment, it feels like the world stops turning. One of the outlaws shifts his hand to the butt of his revolver. Your hand twitches toward the rifle at your hip, but you don't draw it. You know how fast this can end. She's not here, you repeat, louder this time. The leader studies your face, searching for a crack. Then he smiles, slow and mean. Enjoy your day, Mr. Crowe, he says, though you never gave him your name. We'll be back by nightfall. Don't make us take what's ours. They turn their horses and ride away, dust rising behind them like smoke. You stay on the porch until they disappear over the hills, every muscle in your body stiff with dread. When you go back inside, she's waiting for you. You lied for me, she whispers. You want to demand the truth. Who are they? What do they want, but you don't? Because before you can speak, she says the one thing that will shatter you. I'm connected to your wife, Elias, she whispers, eyes glistening in the firelight. In a way that could destroy you. If you feel the weight of this moment already, subscribe to Wild West Chronicles Tales now. Don't be the one who walks away untouched while others are holding back tears. Prove you're different. You sit at the table, her words still echoing through the room like a bullet ricocheting off walls. She stands across from you, the baby pressed against her shoulder, waiting for you to ask. When you finally do, your voice is lower than you expect. Tell me. She swallows hard. I was married to your brother, she says. It's like the ground shifts under your feet. You see his face immediately, Calder Crowe, the older brother who vanished years ago with a gambler's grin and a pistol he'd stolen from your father's chest. He'd left behind debts, trouble, and the bitter knowledge that he'd chosen his own hunger over his family. He's alive, you ask, though the answer is already carved into the lines of her face. She nods. And he's with them, she whispers. He leads them. He betrayed me like he betrayed you. But now he wants the baby. He won't stop until he gets it. Your chest feels hollow, but there's no time to mourn what you've just learned. Because the sound of hooves is back. You step to the window and see them, the same riders, but now there are more. Shadows moving through the trees, circling the house like wolves closing in on a kill. You pull the rifle from above the mantel and check the rounds. Your hands don't shake. Not yet. Get the children upstairs, you tell her. Bar the door. She hesitates. Elias, go, you snap. She obeys. The outlaws spread out in the yard, their voices carrying through the night air. You can hear Calder among them, though you can't yet see his face. Elias, he calls out, smooth and cold. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Hand her over, and we'll let you and the little ones live. You stand in the doorway with your rifle in hand, every muscle in your body taut. You know you're outnumbered. But you also know you'll die before you let them through that door. If your heart is pounding right now, subscribe. If you can't bring yourself to, comment and explain why. You owe that honesty. The night shudders as they close in. Boots crunch over dry earth. Spurs jingle softly, a mocking rhythm. You stand in the doorway of your homestead with a rifle leveled at the yard, knowing that one mistake, one tremble of your finger, will end everything. The voice comes again. Calder's voice. Your brother. Elias, he calls, low and steady. Don't do this. Give me what's mine. You can't win. You can't see his face yet, but you don't need to. The sound of his voice drags up years of betrayal, memories of a brother who left you to dig your own grave in this world while he vanished into the smoke of his own sins. Go to hell, you answer, the words thick as iron. And then the shooting starts. Gunfire tears the night apart. Splinters explode from the doorframe as you drop behind the threshold and return fire. Bullets scream past your head. You hear the children sobbing upstairs. You hear her shouting for you to keep your head down. You see one of them trying to flank the house. You rise, fire, and watch him fall. There's no time to grieve the man you just killed. Another bullet slams into the wall inches from your shoulder. And then you hear it, a cry from inside. You spin to see her, clutching the newborn in one arm and a pistol in the other. She fires through the window, hitting one of the men dead in the chest. But in the next breath, a bullet grazes her shoulder. Blood blooms across her shirt, and she stumbles, falling to her knees. "Stay down," you shout, but she drags herself up, refuses to drop the child. She is shaking, pale with pain, but still she fires again. Her loyalty burns in the dark like a flame. The gunfire slows, then stops. The silence afterward is worse than the shooting. And then he steps into the yard. Calder. Alive. He wears a black duster and a gun belt heavy with shells. His face is leaner, harder, but it's him, the same smile that once charmed the world now twisted into something cruel. He lifts his revolver and points it not at you, but at the child in her arms. "Enough," he says. "Hand me my blood or I'll spill yours." The world seems to tilt. You raise your rifle, but your hands are shaking now. One wrong move, and the baby dies. If your chest feels tight right now, subscribe. Don't just watch and stay silent, comment why you wouldn't, if you can. The wind has died. The world is holding its breath. Calder's gun remains fixed on the baby's head, and every second stretches into eternity. You know you can't win this standoff. You know what he's capable of. But you also know one thing, you will not let him take this child. You meet his gaze. "You want me," you whisper. "Take me instead." Calder tilts his head. "Don't tempt me, little brother." You move. Not fast enough to be reckless, but fast enough that he doesn't expect it. You throw yourself sideways, rifle raised, and fire. The shot slams into his shoulder, spinning him back. His gun fires as he falls, the bullet grazing your ribs, knocking the air from your lungs. You crash into the dirt, vision swimming, but you're already clawing for your rifle again. Calder rises, bleeding, snarling like a wounded animal. He charges. The two of you collide in the dust, fists and fury, years of betrayal crashing together in a storm of blood and rage. He slams your head against the ground. You drive your elbow into his ribs. He grabs for his revolver. You grab it first. And then he's on top of you, strangling you, pressing the gun into your temple. "I should have left you dead in the dirt years ago," he hisses. You can't breathe. The world goes black at the edges. And then the shot rings out. It isn't yours. You blink, stunned, as Calder stiffens. Blood pours from his chest. He collapses sideways into the dust, eyes wide with disbelief. She is standing behind him, the baby clutched to her chest, smoke curling from the pistol in her hand. You fall back, choking for breath, staring at your brother's lifeless body. The children rush from the house and throw themselves against you, clinging to your arms as though you might disappear. You can barely hold them, your body is shaking, blood soaking through your shirt. You look up at her. She's trembling, pale from the wound in her shoulder, but her eyes hold yours steady. "You saved us," you whisper. "No," she says softly. "You saved us first." And then you collapse, the world spinning away. If you're still watching and your heart hasn't turned to stone, subscribe to Wild West Chronicles Tales now. If you refuse, tell us why in the comments. You owe us that much. When the world returns, it is slow and unkind. You wake in the narrow bed of your homestead, the smell of blood and wood smoke clinging to the walls. Every muscle aches, every breath feels like it might split you apart, but you are alive. You survived. The children are the first thing you see. Ren asleep in the chair by your bed, Jonas curled on the floor wrapped in a blanket too small for his frame. Their faces are smudged, tear-stained, but peaceful in sleep. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, they are safe. You shift slightly, and the pain rips through you, reminding you of what you've lost, and what you've kept. Your hand finds the rough bandages around your ribs. You remember Calder's eyes in those last moments, how the light left them. He's gone now, but his shadow still stretches long in your mind. You don't know if it will ever lift. She is there too. The woman. Standing by the window with the baby pressed against her shoulder, rocking slowly as the dawn creeps in. Her shoulder is bandaged, her hair loose and falling in her eyes, but she is still and strong, the kind of strength forged in fire. When she notices you watching, she moves closer. She places the baby gently in your arms, and the tiny weight feels heavier than any rifle you've ever held. You stare at the child's face, impossibly small and soft, and something inside you breaks open. "We'll make this work," you say, voice thick. "All of us. Together." She kneels beside you. For the first time since you met her, the fear is gone from her face. She reaches up and touches your cheek, her hand warm and trembling. "There's something you need to know," she whispers. You brace yourself. "Before your wife died," she says softly, "she asked me to find you. To protect the children if anything ever happened to her." The words fall heavy, each one reshaping the ground beneath you. "She was my friend," the woman continues. "She saved me once. I couldn't let her down. That's why I came. That's why I knew your name." You close your eyes. Grief washes through you, but for the first time, it doesn't hollow you out. It fills you. She was still protecting you, even from the grave. When you open your eyes again, you see the children stirring, the baby cooing softly in your arms. The house feels warmer now, like life has crept back in through the cracks. Days turn to weeks. The wounds heal slowly, but they do heal. The whispers from the neighbors fade. The homestead, once a place of survival and loss, becomes something else entirely. A place of beginnings. And then one morning, you step outside as the sun breaks over the ranch. The sky burns gold and pink, painting the land in a light you haven't seen in years. The children laugh behind you. She steps out onto the porch, the baby on her hip, and you think, for the first time, you understand what it feels like to be whole. If you watched until the end and your heart isn't stone, subscribe to Wild West Chronicles Tales now. If you refuse, at least tell us in the comments why. You owe us that honesty.